Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're brand new. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That way you can see future videos. As always, like and comment on the video. For today, I'm going to be going over and reviewing the third book of the Shadow and Bone trilogy. It's called Ruin and Rising. It's written by Leigh Bardugo. For this review, I'm going to have a spoiler-free section followed by a spoiler section, and then at the end, I'm going to give it my rating and overall thoughts. This video will have timestamps, so you can actually go through the different chapters if you want to skip something. But for right now, we're going to start our spoiler-free section. Alright, so the first thing that I wrote is that the stakes were high and people were dying and getting hurt left and right. And that's one of the things that I really valued that not only this book, but also Siege and Storm, which was the book prior, did. It made sure that as a reader, I knew there were stakes. And like, granted, I knew that certain characters were going to survive because of plot armor, because of their importance. But there were many side characters that were getting gravely injured, or they flat out died. And it was very bold of Bardugo to make these choices, but I really enjoyed them because it made the stakes just so much higher instead of us not experiencing any death with our core group. The next thing that I want to bring up is Alina's dilemma of what to do and her naive slash inexperienced nature, and how that plays a really good part in the book's plot and events. And I think as the book progresses, one thing that I've always mentioned, not just with book one, but also with book two, is that she is very new to this world. She hasn't had her powers for a long time. She just found out she was a Grisha. And even in the second book, when she wanted to take over the Grisha army and lead them, I even thought that that was kind of quick, um, because she had only been Grisha slash using her powers for about a year at the most. And I think her using her powers, it was, I guess, 6 months prior to that decision. And in this book, you see how her decision making, her inexperience of this world, and just of war in general, is costing um, people's lives, costing people time and resources. And I think the dilemma that she has between trying to make choices, trying to see who she can rely on. I think all of that was just very well done. And one of the things that I do want to bring up, I didn't write it down, but I do want to bring up that with every book that Bardugo has written, her writing just gets stronger. Like, this book is so much stronger than the first one. It's, I want to say, on par, but a little more than the second one because of just the different stakes that it has. But ultimately, her writing style and her writing just solidifies with each book. And I'm really excited to get to Six of Crows and also the King of Scars duology, just because I now know that those will be written, if not on par, better than this book. The next thing that I want to bring up is that Mal is likable again and he has depth. One of the biggest criticisms from book two, from me, and I think from a lot of people, was that Mal in the second book just was not likable. He was one note. He was just this overprotective person, and he was just thinking on safety, and that was it, right? And I like that in this book, that um, tone was toned down. He was given more to work with, and I really liked the relationship that he and Alina had throughout the three books. I think that it bookends it very well. I do like them as a couple a whole lot more than her and the Darkling. I never understood that shipping, but I really like how it was done. Ultimately, I'm really glad that this book really gave him the depth that his character needed. So yeah, now we're gonna move on. The next thing that I said is that I like the expansion of Alina being able to use her power to bend light, which then makes invisibility. I, for the longest time, never understood the light powers in the sense of them being really powerful or them being like an ability that someone will want to choose. It just never seemed that much of a powerful power in a sense. So I'm really glad that in this book we were introduced to a different aspect, that she is able to bend light, which then creates the invisibility aspect, because then it just gives, or it makes her power more interesting to me. Whereas in the past, it didn't really get my attention, if I'm being honest. I will say that the pacing in this book did feel off in certain places, and there were certain scenes that I think could have been cut short. I think that every scene was necessary, so I wouldn't say cut entire scenes out, but I think that certain scenes could have been like made shorter, because the pacing, and I think it was more so towards the beginning, was kind of slow, like everything that was happening with the apparat. And also, segue, I wish that the apparat had died in this book, because I hated his character. He was crusty, dusty, usty, musty, old. Like, oh, I just hated when he was like on screen slash page, because I was like, I don't like you. So I wish that he had died, but the beginning scenes did, to me, feel very kind of repetitive at sometimes, but then it just felt like we got to pick this up a little more, right? Another thing that I didn't like was what happened with Nikolai in this book. Nikolai was literally my favorite character from the second book. He brought so much life into that book where it probably wouldn't have had that much delight if it weren't for him. And in this book, I was ready to experience that, and he, like, what happened with him, I didn't like. I can talk about it more with the spoiler section, because I don't want to spoil what happens, but I don't like what happened. The last thing that I'll say is that I'm not really sure how I feel about the ending. I know some people like the ending, are good with the ending. I know some people hate the ending and wish the ending was different. I don't know. I'm not on the fence that I hate it, and I don't even think I dislike it. I think for me, I'm just trying to figure out if I'm more so on the okay side or if I like the ending. And I can dive deeper into that with the spoiler section, but that's where I'm at with that. Like, I don't know. Like, at the very least, I'm okay with it, but I'm trying to figure out if I like that, if that was the best decision for this book. But ultimately, I am okay with how the book ended. I'm okay with the events. I'm okay with where the characters ended up. I'm just trying to figure out if that is what I genuinely liked, if that makes sense. All right, so that is it for the spoiler free section. If you do not want to be spoiled, you got to move on to the rating. That way you can see what I rate this book and my overall thoughts. There will be no spoilers during the rating section, but now it is time to talk about spoilers. All right, so before I move on to some of the stuff that are specifically spoilers, I am going to move back to the other points just to see if there's any spoilery context that I can provide. Um, so one of the things of the stakes being high, and I like that people were dying and everything. I mean, that one kid, I forgot his name already, but him getting his arm cut off, and like, that was dope. Bagra dying, rest in peace, but stakes. You had then the whole thing with Nikolai, which I didn't like that it happened, but him being out of the picture because he pretty much had that shadow creature in him and it was like taking over him. That was an interesting like plot device, but I just didn't like that it was him, if that makes sense. I'm trying to figure out who else died. Like, there's other people that had died or got injuries and everything. I can't remember them on the top of my head right now, but like, they were going through it in this book. I can promise you that. The next thing, Lena's dilemmas of like what to do. I mean, just read the book. Mal being likable again, and him having death. I mean, him being the Firebird, and like that aspect, I did like, because then it also brings up this like conversation or this argument with their relationship. Like, was their connection that they had purely based on their abilities, right? Him being the Firebird and her being a Grisha, like, was she attracted to him because of that? Was he attracted to her because of that? And I think it's just a really good and interesting conversation point. And I wonder if in the future books that it kind of dives into that. I know that they're not main characters, or at least I don't think they are. Um, but I wonder if that ever gets touched upon again. Okay, so skipping back to the ending, I don't, again, I don't dislike it. I think I would have liked, when Mal died, I think I would have liked him reviving if it was more natural. I think him being revived by the other Heartrenders, I think that's the part that I didn't like because, and maybe I just read it wrong and I'm completely off, but him being the Firebird, when I think of a Firebird, I think of a Phoenix. When I think of a Phoenix, I think of dying and then resurrection, right? And I think it would have been such a nice touch if, yes, he had sacrificed himself, he had died, but then he gets revived just naturally by himself because of that power that he had. And then now, this second life that he has is normal. So, pretty much basically what happened, except for the way that he was revived. Instead of it being the Heartrenders that are like helping him be revived, like he just does it on his own because of the power that he had. If that makes sense. I think if it was that, then I would have liked it a lot more. But because it wasn't, I'm still okay with him being revived and everything. But I just wish it was done more naturally. I do like that him and Alina were together at the end. I like that they were going back to their roots. I know a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like that she lost her powers. I was kind of confused on it the first time that I read it. I'm not gonna lie, but ultimately, I've been okay with it. It's not something that I really think about a lot. Because like for example, Divergent. Oh, what's her name? What's her name? Triss, right? Triss. She gets shot. Like that is how she dies. Spoilers. I'm sorry. That's how she dies, and it pissed me off reading that third book because before she gets shot, she is in this room with like I think this chemical thingy that is supposed to like either brainwash her or kill her. I think it was supposed to kill her specifically, but because of she's divergent, she's like fighting through it and she survives it. All and that all happens, and then she dies because of a gunshot. Like it, that pissed me off. This, Alina doing everything that she did and then losing her powers at the end did not piss me off. I'm gonna be honest, it didn't. Like I was okay with it. It took me a while to really understand it, but ultimately I was okay with it. The one thing that I think I wasn't really understanding and I didn't really grapple with and I didn't really like is the fact that more people became sun summoners. Like that to me just felt off. It felt weird. One of the things that I wrote down is that the Darkling should have been killed with the cut. It would have been poetic justice with his first real demonstration of power that we see is him using the cut to kill somebody. I think it would have been such a good touch if he had died with Alina using the cut on him. And I know that in this book she does try to use the cut on him multiple times, especially when they're fighting within that tower in the mountain and everything. But ultimately, he's like evading the attacks and whatnot. But at the end, when he is at his most vulnerable, I think it would have been a very good poetic moment for him to die with the cut because again that's the power that he deliberately showed to Alina when he was saving her life. That is the first time that we actually saw him as a threat. So I don't know, personally I would have liked to see Alina kill him with a cut, but ultimately it is what it is. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I need to talk about. I don't necessarily think so. The twins, I think, were a good addition. Again, with App Brett, I wish he had died. Really hated that dude. Um, let's see, Genya, I really enjoyed, but I didn't. I really enjoyed her in the first book. In the second book, she wasn't necessarily there, and unfortunately, I forgot that she existed, and unless she was brought up. And then in this third book, I didn't really care for her in the sense like I didn't dislike her, but like she just was there. I definitely liked her more in the first book, and I think it was because she just had more to do, whereas for the rest of the series there wasn't really much to do. Um, Again, with Nikolai being that creature and everything, I dislike it because that took away. screen time from him. But the I'm saying screen time like as if this was like a movie or TV show. Um, but the time that we do have with him, I really do enjoy it. I am glad that he did become king and everything, and like he was able to like unite the folks that he needed to unite to win. Because again, one of the best characters I've ever read. But yeah, I think that is it for the spoiler section. Alright, so now it is time for the rating. What do I rate this book? I ended up rating this book 4 stars. I think it is a solid book. I really enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the stakes that the book had and everything. There was just certain things that I would change towards the pacing in the beginning, and something specific that happened at the end I would change. But ultimately, again, I think it was a good book. With it being the third book in a series, I think it does land in a solid place, and I'm really excited to read more of her books. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing reading vlogs for the other two duologies because I'm pretty sure they're more popular. So I definitely want to do that experience. Would I recommend the series? Honestly, I would. With this trilogy being part of a whole world, and from my understanding, the other two duologies are more stronger, more favorable. I would start with this series. That way, you get a grasp of what the world is like and some context within some of the characters. But yeah, ultimately, I would say it's a solid series. Not the best, not the worst, but overall, it's pretty solid. All right, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe, leave a like, comment what you thought about this review or your thoughts on this book and everything. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a good day.